So Vaalmonica has 2 new cards coming out in Infinite Forbidden. I believe it'll be the last wave of support for this deck for a little while. It seems to wrap up the story a little bit here, but we got Vaalmonica Creator, a continuous trap, and Valar Vaalmonican Hollow Hymn, a Link 2 Vaalmonica monster, as opposed to the Link 1s that the other ones are. Creator seems to be a really nice fit for the deck, a really great piece to add in here. Its effect on the board is not great. It gives you an attack boost, but you won't really need it because you're already giving your opponents an attack deficit with the demon. I suppose it just makes it wider and easier to OTK, but Duralume does that pretty well anyway. The Link summon when your opponent special summons is pretty good, but you gotta set it and then wait a turn, and the deck just does so many other things better. But its effect when it goes to the graveyard from hand or field is excellent. So when that happens, it puts 3 resonance counters on either pendulum scale. Whichever one you want, pick it, it's 3. So you can right away use it as a discard for the pendulum to set the opposite pendulum in the other scale, and then load one of them up with 3, and now your Link monsters are live immediately. Now on top of that, we did lose some important stuff. No more Borreload, no more Baronne de Fleur, which are really nice negates, which we don't have, so we had to play some other stuff to work around that. I chose Crystal Wing and Dragite. Dragite will negate a spell or a trap as long as you have a water monster in the graveyard, and Crystal Wing will quick effect negate a monster effect. And I'll show you at the end here a combo, but the deck doesn't really combo so much as it just rotates through the resources it has, but a lot of times you can build very similar boards with that unless you brick really bad, which does happen. But it's pretty easy to put this out there on Summon 5 or prior to Summon 5 and be Nibiru proof at that point, so that's nice. These are both really easy to make with the Boreas Storm. You would just level 6 with the Assault Synchron, it's searchable off of the tuning. All of your 4s are going to be in play at some point. Synchro summon for Boreas Storm, dump the Zephyros, bounce something you don't need, Zephyros on board, and you have a level 8 right there, so very easy to access. The only other level 8 we got is Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon, because once again with the Assault Synchron, really easy to just climb up into your Cheng Ying or whatever level 10 you decide to play. The only other one I was considering was Chaos Angel, because it's a good card, especially if you're going to play the Trasukta in there also, because between Trasukta and Boreas Storm, you have a Light and a Dark level 6, and you have Light and Dark level 4s that you're going to see in play fairly frequently, and so it is reasonable. I just didn't want to play the Trasukta because it felt a little bit more janky than the Boreas Storm line. Outside of the Synchron engine, which I think plenty of people are playing, the rest of it's pretty standard. The other monsters are just free discards. They're extra bodies, so you can summon them twice a turn, which is pretty important in this deck because it just tries to cycle through resources to put your big monsters on board, and then the other ones are all just kind of fodder for that. And then to replace the negate, we lost in Baronne and Borreload. I'm playing the 1 Therion Regulus. It's pretty easy to get to this. It's an Omni negate. It's nice. We're playing the Discoliseum. We can get to that through the Ancient Fairy Dragon, which will then search our Regulus, or you can just go rank 4 into Merrymaker, into Sargus, search the Discoliseum, and then get Regulus. So this is a very easy card to get in play. Even if these didn't get used yet, you can just link this away and you have a machine and graveyard to just throw Regulus on board, and you're not losing much here. It's a big enough guy and it requires some resources, but it's really only 2 monsters to get to this. The problem is that when he's on the board, he does nothing after he gets to your search for Discoliseum because it would require a detach of a material, which you're not really going to have. The only other monster you play that would do that is Abyss Dweller, and you're usually choosing one or the other depending on your hand. Dweller is very nice in this deck because you're going to usually be able to set up this Summon Negate and this Omni Negate, and so if you can back it up with a Dweller and shut down a graveyard as well, that's pretty nice. And what I'm going to show you at the end, we also have a Crystal Wing, so Quick Effect Negate, Omni Negate, Summon Negate, and Abyss Dweller shuts down the graveyard. Very nice board to set up with something like this. For the Cheng Ying, I just really like this card. I like the artwork, I like the big boy. The deck interacts with banishing quite often, so you're going to get to use his effects. If their effects banish, then maybe you get a free one there too. Plus it has that built-in protection, so while it doesn't necessarily interrupt as easily as like a Chaos Angel, which will hit you with that banish right away, I just think it does more, and this is usually not going to be like your go-to. It's just a nice way to close out a game, or if you have access to it and a bunch of other stuff, it's nice to just throw on the board as like a little cherry on top there. I think these 2 link spots are kind of up to you. These 4 feel very necessary. You're going to use them pretty much all every game. These 2 I just felt like they fit really well because it's easy to make the extra bodies with this deck, but I also like these 2. The Moon Maiden is because you can go 1 card Valar with Trick Clown. If you can normal or pendulum summon the Trick Clown, you link it away for Moon Maiden. Trick Clown summons itself back. Then you would just link away one of the 2 for a Vaalmonica Link monster and then link away both of those for Valar. It's just that if you were to like Foolish it or mill it or whatever, whatever, then you wouldn't have that, and this becomes a dead card in your extra deck. You can kind of do the same thing with Celatrice if you like normal summoned, linked it away, and then put it back in your hand with its own effect and pendulum summoned it, but that's just not good. Like, you're just gonna have better stuff to do than that. And then the Seebeck Sorcerer, I really like the card. I just couldn't figure out what exactly to cut. It didn't feel like anything was worth cutting for it, but being able to get the extra burn whenever somebody gains life points is awesome. You can trigger it yourself, so you'll go up by 500 yourself, go down by 1,000, you get the 2 resonance counters. It's just kind of similar to the Moon Maiden. If you have what you need to make it work, you also probably have what you need to make a better play, and so I just had to cut it. King Tiger Wangu was suggested to me a while back, and it is a really cool idea. The general concept would be Demon is going to drop your opponent's monster's attacks by a lot on their summon. So with Wangu on board, as long as they have, you know, less than, say, 2,000, they're pretty much all just getting destroyed on summon. They'd have to summon something big to get over the top of that. So it is kind of clever. Problem is, it's not searchable. It doesn't summon itself. You can pendulum summon it, but there's not really all that much other use for it than that, and so I didn't fit it in there. I think there's a spot for these two for sure. You could even cut these to make room for these two just because they're pretty good backups, and we are playing this useless Xyz after you get that search, so if you weren't going to link it away to have material for Regulus to summon itself, you could just throw this guy on top. Might be worth it. And then the only other one here is good old Blood Mephist, and if you haven't watched my short, that would explain why this is in here. I tried to play it. It is just such a bad card for being $2,000, you know, but it is actually technically a part of the Vaalmonica archetype because it's based off of Mephistopheles. So if you saw the lore video I made about Vaalmonica, you know that Mephistopheles is a part of the greater story that this is all based on. I thought that was really interesting, so I tried to play it, but clearly it works like a 12-year-old card, to be honest. But that's the list I'm dealing with right now, and let's go through a little replay and I'll show you what I was talking about. Once again, not a combo deck. Like, there are very few combinations of cards that get you anything other than like the framework of how you're gonna make the rest of the deck work. So it is 4 cards, but it's really more just to show how the deck cycles, so we'll get to that. Okay, so yeah, like I said, 4 cards, so it's not like you're gonna open this combination of cards, but just like I said, the idea is just to kind of show the way that the deck can cycle. Usually there is multiple ways to get to the same board state, and it's just learning how everything bridges between each other. So this is just kind of a demonstration of that. So we'll start out with that Celatrice summon, search the creator. Right here we'll use that discard that we were talking about. You'll discard creator for angel, it'll set the demon, and then you'll just put your resonance counters on whatever you like there. We're choosing demon, and then we're gonna go right into the fairy dragon. The reason for going into this right away is we're gonna put the crystal wing on board at summon 5s to protect us from Nibiru, because we'll do a lot more summoning after that. Celatrice puts itself back in the hand. Rev Synchron used itself from the hand to make the Synchro summon, and then it's going to summon itself back out of the graveyard. We'll get the search out of the Shelter for voice, the field spell, and that's going to be used to get us another copy of Demon. And now right here we're going to use both Fairy Dragon effects, so we'll use it to pop Voice and then grab Discoliseum, and then we'll use it to summon the Demon to the board. That's just so that we have the Regulus available to us, and then the Demon will be able to copy the Shelter out of the graveyard. We're going to use the effect of Rev Synchron to put it back on the board as a level 1, and then right here, that was summon 4, this is summon 5, so we're good to go. Demon's going to copy the Shelter to get us a copy of Intonare, and then we will Link summon and then pendulum summon for our guys. So the link summon is because we need one of them on board to make the Valar, and then the pendulum summon, this was free. What we do with the demon is you put it on the board with a fairy dragon, you'll link it away, and then it goes to the extra deck so you can pendulum summon it back, so you get the extra body out of it there. So right here we'll link right up into the Valar. You need to use the Celatrice because this will go back to the extra deck, and we need this in the graveyard for Intonare. So Valar is good. Intonare is going to give us back that Celatrice. Then we're going to overlay for Abyss Dweller, and then we're going to do Regulus, and there's our board. So we'll move this out of the way. So you have that monster summon negate, you shut down the graveyard, you have an Omni negate, and you have a quick effect monster negate. Very solid effects here. They're all pretty strong versions of all their effects too, and while it does take essentially a whole hand, like I said, you're just looking to figure out how the different cards all circle through each other, and once you got that, it's really fun to play this deck because there's a lot of cool stuff it can do once you start getting the hang of it. If you're playing some other engine in Vaalmonica, let me know what that is. I can't believe that I went from thinking that this was like one of the nastiest looking decks, like didn't even want to touch it, to now it is one of my favorite ones to play around with because it's just so unique in how it works. So I'm sure a lot of you have had a similar experience and maybe you've found some cool stuff that I'm not aware of yet. So leave that down below for me and anyone else that happens across this video. Happy deck building. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Goodbye.